Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the Underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The Underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the Underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun, and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we're going to be talking about the slight shakeup that we have for the Obi-Wan Kenobi premiere date. We're also going to be talking about season 3 of The Mandalorian. It's wrapped filming, and we have Donald Glover in the news asking about returning as Lando. We're going to talk about all that and so much more in this episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. My name is Chris, and joining me is my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Yes, hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. I feel like in the spirit of Star Wars news this week, you know, it's nice that we're doing the show on Thursday, but if we were really to get into the spirit, we should delay this episode 2 days until Saturday, actually do 2 episodes on Saturday, and then just come back next Thursday like nothing's happened. I think that's the way we should have gone with this. I don't have a problem with them changing the release date for Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, I just care that the show is coming out. Who cares what day it comes out on? But this is weird, right? This is weird. We'll talk about it some more, but I just want to be on the record right away and saying I don't understand this. And so we'll be. I'm looking forward to getting into that and everything else. It's going to be a great show on Thursday, the day we said it would come out, not 2 days later, that because we changed our mind at the last minute for some reason.
And also joining us on the Star Wars Underworld podcast, a limited series, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes, and you should introduce me as guest starring, okay? Guest starring. Or am I lead? Am I what is my title? I don't know.
Introducing. It's like when they say introducing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or you're like the returning introducing.
Thank you very much.
Ben Hart. After 10 years, introducing Ben Hart, making his world debut on the Star Wars Underworld podcast.
I'm finally a series regular, guys. Yes. But yeah, this is some strange, but a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. And we're gonna be getting into all of it very, very soon.
Yeah, in fact, we'll get into it just right before we get to the plugs, because we got a super chat right out the gate from Commander Shepard, who says, no! May 25th was the perfect date for the premiere, as Lucas would say. It's like poetry. It rhymes. And, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I agree. I think, it was the perfect day. It was 45 years to the day that we first saw Obi-Wan Kenobi. We'd be seeing him again. It made sense. And I'm genuinely befuddled by why you would push it back by 2 days. But at the end of the day, it doesn't change the quality of the show. And that's ultimately what matters, right? That's what we're looking forward to, is the experience of watching it and hopefully watching a good show. And whether that comes out on May 25th, May 21st, May 27th, June 8th, at the end of the day, that's what matters. But yeah, it did seem like they had it set up so perfectly. And for some reason, they're like, no, 27th now. That's what we're going with. So but we'll get more into that in a little bit. But thank you, Commander Shepard, for getting the show started off with a sweet super chat. Now we should plug some things.
All right. So if you're Chewbacca, punch that subscribe button. Let's go.
Or slap it. You can slap it too.
We're on YouTube for anybody listening to us elsewhere, and for anybody watching on YouTube, we are elsewhere as well. If you want to just listen to us on your favorite podcast apps. You could also send us a super chat, as Commander Shepard just did. You can support us on patreon.com/theswu. We're just putting in the final pennies into our giant celebration fund jar to have as much fun with everybody there as possible. So please support us over there and check out our merch.
I don't want to give anything away, but I think it could be plausible that we might buy everybody pancakes. It's plausible.
That is the number one concept right now that we're shooting for.
Yeah, you thought you were getting a button with Boba Fett on it. No, you're getting pancakes. And let's be honest, what would you rather have?
Can I get a pancake in the shape of Boba Fett's helmet? Can I do that, please?
We should look into that.
Yeah, definitely
we should look into that.
So patreon.com/theswu. Oh, that's also where our pre-shows are. And we had a very fun pre-show this week that went by very, very, very quickly because there was a lot of shenanigans on it. So you can find that at patreon.com/theswu. Any pledge level gets you access to our exclusive content. Also check out our merch over at the Culture Slate store, cultureslate.com/store. We still got Cad Bane stuff up there. So check it out. A bunch of other great stuff as well.
I'm sorry, am I gonna get copyrighted for that?
What was that voice? That was Ben Hart, the baritone guy.
That was my impression of Cad Bane, and very, very, very not good.
I liked it.
That's actually. That's like that's not Cad Bane. I don't know what that is. It's not Cad Bane.
You've predicted what Grogu's
I need to personally go to Celebration and apologize to Corey Burton for that.
It sounds like a cartoon dog is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it does.
This is adult Grogu. Adult Grogu will sound like that. And also make sure to check out the other shows on the Culture Slate Network: Star Wars Culture, Ion Cannon, and Chatter Squadron, which all right now are making plans to meet everybody at Star Wars Celebration. So we're gonna have a whole fun time over there.
But will they buy you pancakes? Probably not. Probably
they have
not.
their own plans that they're working on,
and they're not as good. That's all I'm
saying. You
saying.
ain't getting no pancakes from Tyler and Loden. Come on now, you know that ain't happening.
Oh man. And if you want to send us listener feedback, swunderworld@gmail.com is where you can do that. Or as you learned in the pre-show, you can just drop it into our show notes.
If you can guess the URL. One other thing I want to plug real quick on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel. You can watch the full visually enhanced DIY Hero's Journey panel from Toronto Comic-Con. You can watch me zoom in to that panel that Din, Kareem, and Alia did live in Toronto. Live music, lots of fun discussion. Check it out. It's on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel, and we'll probably drop an audio version of it in your podcast feeds soon as well. All right, let's get into the news, and we'll start with what we've already been talking about, the premiere of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the limited series coming to Disney Plus, has been pushed back 2 days. 2 whole days, can you believe it, to May 27th. StarWars.com posted, "We'll soon say hello there to Obi-Wan Kenobi a little later than expected, but with a surprise bonus. Ewan McGregor, star of the Disney Plus limited series as the titular Jedi Master, announced today that Obi-Wan Kenobi will now premiere on Friday, May 27th. Instead of just one episode, however, fans will be treated to the first 2 installments at launch." It's launch, not lunch, as I first read it and thought we were getting a noon release. I was very confused for a moment. With subsequent episodes debuting each Wednesday. I'm sure most people at this point have all seen the video that Ewan did on YouTube where he talks about it. Disappointingly, he begins the video by saying, "Hello, Star Wars fans." Did not say, "Hello there, Star Wars fans."
Come on.
Star Wars is ruined. How dare you, Ewan?
Who wrote that copy?
Yeah. I suspect I suspect he's got one like really good hello there in the chamber, and he's saving it. He's saving it for May 25th, 26th, 27th, or 28th. Maybe even the 29th. Whenever he takes the stage at Celebration.
Yeah.
I suspect we'll get a hello there. Or maybe not. Who knows? He's Ewan. He's cool. He doesn't have to do anything if he doesn't want to. But yeah, this is an interesting choice. I think Joshua in our live chat had a good comment. Spin Zone episode 2 is coming out 5 days sooner, which from a certain point of view, that's a nice way of looking at it. It's not a delay.
It's true.
It's just, well, it is a delay, but it's also a speeding up of getting to the second episode. Like we said off the top, don't have a problem with it. Like it was nice to have the anniversary, but I think it's weird. I just think it's odd. I don't understand it. Do either of you have a theory as to what's going on here?
My only theory is that it's related to the press they're doing in conjunction with Star Wars Celebration. That's the only thing I have, because the 25th, I believe, is that's the day before Star Wars Celebration.
The
right?
Wednesday, yeah.
The Wednesday. So there's going to be all the stuff that's going to be happening with the press junkets there and the panels there, and everything is going to start on the 26th and then run through the 27th, 28th, and 29th, like you said. So what I think is they want to take advantage of the fact that they're probably going to have a lot of people at Celebration that are involved in the project by using that as press to promote the project. So, I mean, it's also, I think, potentially to give, Star Wars fans a chance to experience watching it together, obviously. Like with the thing dropping in the middle of Star Wars Celebration, there's no way they're not showing that thing at Star Wars Celebration for everybody to watch. Sure. There's no way. Now, I don't know if they would be so nice as to let us watch it a little bit early and then just tell everybody shh about it. Maybe.
I'm wondering that. I hadn't considered this idea of folding in the press junket in with Celebration.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen some people say, oh, they're doing it so it'll line up with Celebration. I was like, I don't, Celebration's a big event, 60,000 people, but they're expecting, tens of millions of people to watch this.
Yeah.
And I don't think you rejig your plans for 10 million people to better serve 60,000.
Yeah.
But if you can sort of double dip on the promotional side of it and just say, all right, well, we'll get everybody who's, get all those reporters who are coming down to cover Celebration anyways, we'll get them to come on out and cover this as well, then it makes sense. And maybe, they haven't, they haven't done haven't announced any sort of like red carpet premiere of Obi-Wan. Maybe that's something else that could be folded into Celebration.
Wow.
Perhaps even as kind of the unofficial kickoff of Celebration, make that take place on the 25th.
Yeah.
And do the red carpet premiere and, do some kind of lottery for people attending Celebration to win tickets to get into that. And maybe we'll have something cool. Maybe something big will happen. It'll be a good time.
How sometimes you see those trailers for movies where it's interviewing people coming out of watching the movie and them being like, oh, that was amazing. And it's like audiences love Infinity War, like that type of thing. Like I'm imagining them working in some type of promotion like that, where, they have people at Celebration watch it and then they use the reactions of us watching it and talking about watching it to then promote the series to the other 10 million people.
They'll have a camera on the audience while the episodes are playing for the first time. And you can bet that next week on Star Wars YouTube, we'll see a new Kenobi TV spot, and it'll be the audiences are loving it. Yep. And there'll be shots of everybody going, oh my God, can you believe it? The thing happened, and it was there, and it was amazing, and I cried for 12 hours afterwards, because everybody always says they cry for 12 hours after they see something Star Wars.
Here's a good That's Gary, right, guys?
Gary, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gary, love to see you in here. Yeah, and perhaps this is also to separate out the hype for Miss Marvel versus Kenobi as well.
But then they'll be running at the same time though, because Kenobi it premieres on the Friday.
Yeah,
but then goes back to Wednesdays after that. So
I meant for the premiere, just not
give
the
them
entire show. Yeah.
Which just selfishly, I'm glad they're keeping the Wednesday schedule because that's easier for us.
That is.
Nice for us. When I saw that they were going back to Friday, I'm like, oh boy, we're gonna be doing 2 shows a week again.
Yeah.
Not that was a bad thing, just it was more work.
Yeah, there's a lot. It is bewildering because you're like, okay, let's say, for example, let's say hypothetically that they did this for Celebration, which it seems likely they did. I just dropped my Lego thing. Never mind. Just ignore that.
It didn't break though. It just was a thump. It wasn't a smash.
It broke into several pieces. I'll fix that later. Yeah.
It didn't sound like Ned dropping the Death Star in Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was bad. It's like hypothetically, okay, they did this for Celebration. Celebration's been on the cards for a long time. I know, like everything happening in the world, it's hard to like plan things, but like it seems like they would have had this idea because they just announced the premiere date a few weeks ago. It hasn't been that long. It's weird they would announce it and then immediately change it. That said, applause to them for like being willing to change things for the better. Not say, oh, by the way, it's canceled. It's not coming out. No, because
there's still time. There's still time.
Don't you dare, okay?
No.
Don't even put it out there, okay? Because the internet, if something happens now, you realize the internet's coming after you, okay? All the millions of Obi-Wan Kenobi fans, the prequel fans, are going to kill you.
Yeah. Well, what? Bring it on. Bring it on. No. Yeah, the one nice thing, the thing that's nice about the show dropping on Disney Plus is that they can very easily change these things around, right? Like they don't have commitments to movie theaters who want to put up posters and sell popcorn and all that stuff. If they decide, you know what, we want to put it out on the 27th instead of the 25th, they can do that. And then if they decide tomorrow, you know what, not feeling the 27th anymore, just not vibing with it, well, let's put it out on the 28th. I like that better. Like they can do that too. Like there's nothing stopping them. They could just slowly, incrementally move the release date back until like we're sitting here in October going, geez, it's supposed to premiere tomorrow, but I don't know if it will.
We've decided to make this a public broadcasting mini-series, so that means you're getting one episode every day for the next 6 days.
But with it, there'll be commercial breaks where people ask you to telephone in and leave and make a donation to raise money to help out the struggling Disney Plus. It's not struggling, but
Brought to you by viewers like you.
Thank you.
And the Kathleen Kennedy Foundation.
So that's the big story. That's the news. Friday, May 27th. That's the release of episodes 1 and 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the limited Disney Plus series. Although if it's successful enough, maybe it won't be so limited. Maybe they'll extend that limit out from 6 episodes to...
Like they extended Darth Maul's life.
It's funny. This it kind of bummed me out when I first heard they're dropping both episodes because there's not that many episodes to begin with, and they're dropping both of them in the same week. And I'm like, I would prefer like one a week and just kind of spread it out a little bit. But at the same time, we are essentially getting an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie 1 week, and we're gonna get it at Celebration.
Yeah. And by the way,
feel like that.
By the way, if you're going to Celebration, you have to watch the episodes. You can't show up the next day and be walking around the show floor going, no spoilers, no spoilers. Nobody tell me.
Yeah, you're asking for trouble at that point.
I would hope no one would do that.
You can bet somebody's going to do that. They're going to be like, no, I'm going to wait till I'm at home to watch it when I'm like comfortable.
Gotta watch it with my popcorn and my armchair and my surround sound.
I didn't get into the panel. It's on Disney Plus.
That's the other thing I kind of wonder about this. Are we expecting now to have the episodes screened during Celebration, like at the convention? And then are we expecting a panel on top of that? Or maybe they just sort of do a limited screening and then say, everybody else, if you want to watch it on your own time, go back to your hotel rooms, watch it on your phones, whatever. And then we'll do a panel discussion tomorrow. Or maybe they do like a preview panel on Thursday where they're like, let's bring out Hayden and Ewan and they can dance around things that that they don't want to say. This
is what I think's going to happen is they're going to get everybody in the biggest room there. And then they're going to have everybody else in satellite rooms where they're getting the feed from that big room. And then everybody's just going to sit down. And the only thing that's going to happen is Ewan McGregor's just going to walk out and say, hi, guys, this is... Wait, no, that's Australian Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, that's... Come on, Scottish. Get it right.
I'm very bad at Scottish. Let's see. Lassie, the Loch Ness Monster. No,
that's still Australian.
I almost got into it. That's usually what gets me into it. Was talking about the Loch Ness Monster. I apologize to our Scottish listeners. I'm so sorry. But
just every accent is Australian. You're like, oh, they're always after me, Lucky Charms.
Oh dear. Okay. So he just comes out and says, "Hey guys, hello there. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi," and then he just walks back. And then it just plays.
There you go.
And then we watch it. And at the end, maybe he comes back out with Deborah Chow, maybe a few other people. And they have a chat for maybe 30 minutes about what we just saw. And then that's it. That's the experience.
And then at the end, they say, and here's the preview of next week.
Yes.
Here's 45 seconds or something.
And we are definitely getting an episode. I'm wondering... if I think maybe the whole thing with 2 episodes dropping on Friday means we're going to see 1 episode of Celebration on Thursday. So we'll see it and then we'll still have something to watch on Friday.
What if? Let's just dream for a second here. On Thursday night, going into Friday, they premiere episodes 1 and 2, and like I said, everybody who wants to see it can see it. They'll satellite it out to all the rooms. They'll make it possible. Yeah. It'll be great. Afterwards, Deborah Chow, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Benny Safdie, Indira Varma, all those guys, they come out, they do their Q&A for 30 minutes. They say, all right, that was fun. And then they say, you know what? Who'd like to see a little bit more? Who'd like to see a whole other episode more? And then the roof blows off the convention center and they show episode 3 to the people at Celebration, and then we all get to spend a week or less, about 5-6 days going, oh, I don't know we can't say what we saw, but it's there, we know what happened, until episode 3 drops on Disney Plus once Celebration is over. We're all back home.
That would be incredible.
That would be really awesome.
I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but I would say that's not an impossible scenario.
It's not an impossible scenario, though. I will say that really anything that they do will be satisfying for me. And one of the biggest reasons why is the fact that it's been so long since a Star Wars film has come out, and it will be so long since another Star Wars film comes out. So the one thing that, of course, is the saddest about that is while the stuff that we watch on Disney Plus is really up to the same standard of quality as the films, you don't have that experience of going and watching it as a group. And that's the thing that we've been missing in Star Wars fandom since 2019. And so just the idea that it seems fairly likely that we all will be watching the premiere of the show together, I think for me is enough to make it a transcendent experience. And anything on that is Jogan fruit on top of the cake, ice cream.
And going back to your point earlier, Chris, about promotions and stuff like that, I could totally see them doing it. And it really falls in line with the history of Celebration. The Celebration exists because they wanted to just get a bunch of fans under one roof to, get hyped about the Phantom Menace and promote it, and get a bunch of people on stage. And that was basically how it started. Bringing it back around, and I know that we've had now celebrations going along with Star Wars films for a few years now, and it's still impractical to premiere a Star Wars film at a celebration. But they can do it with these TV episodes. They can drop, a season in the middle of the year or time it with the release of a celebration and just do it and have the first episode. And even though you've got, a minuscule amount of people in the world stage that are going to celebration, everyone's going to be talking about it. It's going to be the talk of online chatter everywhere. The fact people have seen it. Reddit's going to be lighting up because people are going to go straight out of the convention center. They're going to spoil the whole plot on Reddit, and then that's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. So, this celebration is a huge deal, especially for a convention that's just one franchise. Like, it's huge.
Yeah, right to Star Wars leaks. That's where we're all going after the convention, after the premiere. Oh my goodness, I love it. It'll be a great time. Whatever happens, it'll be a great time. We'll have some more celebration talk in a little bit, but we'll stick with Obi-Wan Kenobi things for right now. Entertainment Weekly is still rolling out more Kenobi coverage, and this week they've got a new story out with Hayden Christensen talking about playing Darth Vader again. Apparently, he's reacting to putting the Darth Vader suit back on.
Hayden Christensen reacts.
Yeah, I think that's just a sign that our culture is gone. It's doomed.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Oh, I loathe both. This is what they say in Entertainment Weekly. What have we got with Hayden Christensen? He says, well, without getting into too much detail, it was amazing. It's a great honor to get to put that suit on. He says about putting the Darth Vader suit back on after so many years. He says it was mostly a lot of excitement because I had spent time with this character and felt like I knew him, and coming back to it felt very natural in a lot of ways. And I was just really excited to get to come in and play Darth Vader at this point in the timeline because it did feel like a very natural continuation of your journey with the character. And that was very meaningful for me. The whole experience was very surreal, just the nature of coming back after all this time. It's such a unique opportunity, one that Ewan and I were very grateful for. So that's what he's saying about putting the suit back on. I like that there are going to be some scenes with Hayden actually in the suit. I figured they were getting him for flashbacks or scenes where the helmet comes off, or things like that. But then they would just have some big tall guy, some David Prowse-esque dude in the suit for most of the time. But for certain moments, I think there are going to be some moments where you're going to want to see Anakin in the suit, and you're going to want it to feel more like Anakin than Vader, and it just feels appropriate to get Anakin in the suit for those scenes.
Am I not mistaken? Hayden did some Vader scenes for Revenge of the Sith, right?
Yes.
So I think that precedent was set there. I think.
Yeah, but as I recall, there was they had to do some crazy stuff to get him to, actually have the imposing Vader.
Yeah, that's right.
Form.
Yeah,
because Hayden's not a small dude, but he's not 6'7" or whatever Dave Prowse was. They had to.
The difference.
They had to film. They had to film things a certain way, and maybe they're. I don't know. Maybe he was standing on an apple crate in a couple of scenes.
Actually, wait, no. Why is it that when I look up Hayden's height, Google thinks that he's 6'6" because they made him 6'6" for that movie? Like literally, I Googled it and it came up to. I'm just sharing the screen. This is what came up.
You had to zoom in a little bit. 6 foot. Yeah, and then you read the description there. Lucas agreed, and the suit was engineered to fit Christensen's frame, including extensions to attain the Vader's 6'6".
So what is
height.
he really?
But of course, the answer is he's 6'1" or 1/8 inch, according to howtallcelebheights.com. 6'0" according to Creto.com.
I mean, if there were ever reputable sources,
Yeah,
I mean, we just found
1.83 meters, according to hitc.com. Wiki bio.
All right.
Wait. Okay, I'm getting out for this.
We've got the basic idea. He's shorter than Darth Vader. That's the point we're talking about.
If you think about it, like it's funny. Like if we're talking about heights, if you look at like, there's a noticeable difference between you watching Rogue One and watching Tarkin in that movie, and then like going forward and like Tarkin's and Guy Henry and Peter Cushing are different heights, and it's noticeable. But then you go into this and you're like, who are you going to compare it to? If we're supposed to believe that Anakin became Vader, and if he comes in contact with Obi-Wan again, we're going to compare back to, hey, look, here's Anakin and Obi-Wan together. They should be similar heights. We're not going to think, oh, is he supposed to be Dave Prowse height? So I think if you're going to like make Vader, if you're going to like split the difference, I think you make Vader a little bit shorter to closer to what Hayden is supposed to be.
I don't know. I think people have an image in their minds of Vader as very tall, very imposing. And so even if you stand him next to Ewan McGregor, I think the expectation is that he'll be larger, taller, sort of looming over Ewan. So I think
larger, taller, faster, stronger.
I suspect they'll be using Hayden in the suit for specific character moments and scenes that are close-ups or things where he's sort of by himself. But when it comes time to do an action scene where Vader's fighting Obi-Wan, I think you're getting your 6'6" stuntman in there to go up against Ewan for a showdown that has the feel of what people I think envisioned the prequels would be, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Vader in the suit. How people will remake the A New Hope fight and they'll update it with prequel-esque stunts and effects and that sort of thing. I think we'll see something more akin to that.
That's a fascinating thing. I'm aware of like people's thoughts on like the Phantom Menace and how they wish that Anakin had been older in that film. Like I remember that being a thing, but I don't ever remember people being mad that it wasn't Vader in the suit versus Obi-Wan. But it makes a lot of sense to me now that you bring it up, and it's interesting for me because despite the fact that I watched the original trilogy 4 years before Phantom Menace came out, I was still very young, and for some reason, most of my expectations for Revenge of the Sith were formed from the previous two films and not the original three. So, for instance, like I was unhappy that there wasn't enough Padme. I was unhappy there wasn't enough Boba Fett. Like there were things that I wanted from the other films in that film that I didn't get that I was unhappy about. But I never was unhappy about how it lived up to my expectations from the original trilogy for some reason, because even though I saw that years before, like everybody else had in that group.
I think there's seeing something 4 years before and they're seeing something 16 years before.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference there.
And I don't think, I think by the time Revenge of the Sith was coming out, I think people were sort of had accepted that, it was going to be Hayden and Ewan throwing down. But I think going into the prequels, I think people were expecting, or some people were expecting Vader earlier in the trilogy. And that you would see a good portion of at least episode 3, if not episode 2, with him actually in the suit, running around, taking out Jedi, doing that sort of thing, that you would get more Vader across the trilogy. Obviously, once the films started coming out, people's expectations had to be recalibrated, and that there was a very varying levels of success with that, from very successful to not successful at all.
And once you got to Attack of the Clones, it was, you knew what was going to happen. Like, okay, all this stuff happens to happen. And like the whole idea of Anakin, Obi-Wan fighting over a volcano, Anakin falls in, becomes Darth Vader. That was part of the mythology. And the story for, up until that point, up since 1977 almost. So like, there was a precedent already that I think people probably accepted. Whereas, people are a bit more wiser to this. They pay attention to this, even though from a layman's point of view, unless Warwick Davis is wearing the suit, I don't think anybody really is going to notice.
Oh man, look like Stewie from Family Guy, the Invader.
I remember seeing Warwick as a celebration. He was getting the cast, the actors to recreate scenes, and at one point he put on a Darth Vader helmet, and I think he was trying to get Mark Hamill to reenact a scene with him, and it was delightful. I think you can find. I think it was Celebration Europe 2013. If you want to find that on YouTube, all the stuff Warwick did at that celebration was especially good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's say Hayden's back. He's in the suit, and presumably we'll see him not in the suit as well. They haven't said officially there's going to be flashbacks, but we know. They know we know.
Yeah.
We know that they know that we know that they know that we know. They know. We know.
We see what you're doing.
Sticking with Kenobi, though, we've got the writing credits for the first 5 episodes of the series. This is kind of interesting if you're like a film industry nerd, because on the one hand, it's like, who wrote the episode? That's interesting, I think, to most people who follow Star Wars and this sort of thing. But there's a lot going on with these credits that have been revealed by the Writers Guild of America West. So episode 1 will have a teleplay by Joby Harold and Hossein Amani and Stuart Beadle, with story by Stuart. Is it Stuart Beadle or Stuart Beatty? Beatty. Sorry, my eyes aren't working. Beatty, with a story by Stuart Beatty and Hossein Amani. Episode 2, teleplay by Joby Harold, story by Stuart Beatty and Hossein Amani. Episode 3, written by Joby Harold and Hannah Friedman and Hossein Amini and Stuart Beatty. Episode 4, written by Joby Harold and Hannah Friedman, and episode 5, written by Joby Harold and Andrew Stanton. Now, what's interesting about this is Hossein Amini was the dude who was originally hired to write the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie that this project began as.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, presumably, in those first 3 episodes will bear some sort of resemblance to what was planned for that movie, because the way credits work in Hollywood like this is whoever the first person was to start writing something gets a credit. It's why it's why The Rise of Skywalker has story by Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly on it, because they started writing it. So Stuart Beatty and Hossein Amani are obviously those were the 2 guys that were originally working on this show before Joby Harold came in and took over and brought in his own writers like Hannah Friedman and Andrew Stanton, apparently. So it's just an interesting little wrinkle in the production here that we're seeing some vestiges of what this story began as. And who knows? It'll be interesting to hear from Hossein and Stuart and some of these other people after the show comes out. Maybe they'll be able to shed some light on how much of what they did wound up in the actual series. How much of a rewrite did Joby Harold and co actually do? I assume it's a lot. I think, some of these credits I suspect are kind of courtesy credits that they, because they were the first people to write on the project, they're still getting the credit. But, I suspect, much in the same way that Rise of Skywalker does bear some resemblance to Duel of the Fates, I suspect that the Obi-Wan Kenobi series will bear some resemblance to the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, probably in the fact that it starts with Obi-Wan Kenobi overlooking Luke Skywalker on Tatooine, things like that were just always going to be part of the story, no matter who was writing it.
And George Lucas is already getting a credit, so,
Yeah, well, yeah. No,
which is more than he got for The Force Awakens because he was in the based on section rather than the written by section.
Yeah, with George though, he gets the based on credit for everything.
Yeah,
based on Star Wars created by George Lucas.
Yeah.
The only thing that they took the based on credit out for recently was Clone Wars, where it just said created by George Lucas at the end.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With season 7.
Yeah.
So there it is. I don't know. I don't think there's much we can read into this story about the writers. It's just kind of
here is Andrew Stanton, who I'm familiar with. I mean, and a lot of people are familiar with him. He's done a lot for Pixar, written a lot of Pixar movies, including Finding Nemo, WALL-E, Toy Story 2, and a bunch of others. Maybe Monsters Inc. Yeah. So
he wrote the Star Wars jokes in Toy Story 2. I love that.
Yeah. I think
Buzz, I am your father.
Okay. Speaking of which, Lightyear coming up, which it feels like a Star Wars movie in a lot of ways. It's a based on characters by
right.
Ended in that one.
He also wrote John Carter.
That's interesting. I'm gonna say somebody maybe to keep an eye on from this as well going forward with Star Wars and Lucasfilm is Hannah Friedman. I'm just looking at her IMDb page, and for stuff that she has coming out in 2022, there's 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, 2 episodes of Willow as well.
Oh,
so she seems to be somebody who's in at Lucasfilm these days. So somebody keep an eye on. Maybe we'll see more from her as well.
You will watch your career with great interest.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we'll move off of Obi-Wan Kenobi for now. Although we'll be I'm sure talking more about that.
No, we won't talk
week,
anymore about that
every
stupid
week
show. Come on.
Between now and and the way. And by the way, we'll mention that there is something out there that alleges to be leaked footage from the set.
I think if you search hard enough, you will see it. It's out there now.
It's
and
out there.
It's not really that spoilery, but I don't know what to think of it now.
No, I say it's a coin flip.
Me too.
If you told me it was real, it wouldn't surprise me. If you told me it was fake,
Same.
Wouldn't surprise me
either. At first, when I watched it, I'm like, okay, this is like fan film. And then there was like one thing that happens at the end. I'm like, okay, all right, maybe, just maybe.
Yeah. So it's out there. So if you want to try and avoid these things, good luck. If you want to seek them out, just search Obi-Wan Kenobi leaked footage.
I would imagine it's on Reddit at this point.
It's
everywhere.
It is. It's everywhere. Yeah. But let's talk a little Mandalorian. It's season 3 is coming out soon-ish. Presumably, the end of this year, we'll maybe see an episode or 2. And they finished filming. Carl Weathers actually confirmed this on Twitter by retweeting the image of one of the patches from the costume department. We've got the picture up on screen if you're watching. It's kind of half of it is the Mandalorian helmet, and the other half is the number 3 for season 3.
That's really cool.
Of the Mandalorian. Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's a safe assumption at this moment in time that Mandalorian will get kind of the Book of Boba Fett treatment, where it'll premiere at the end of this year and roll into next year.
And then the 2 of the last 3 episodes will be about Boba Fett. Because that's payback.
I honestly, if Favreau and Filoni did that, I think that would be the funniest thing in the world. Like that would they'd just be like, you know what? Wait, you're right. We robbed you of 2 Boba Fett episodes, so we're just gonna put them in this season.
I would be so down for that. I would love that. And also it would make it feel more like Game of Thrones, where it's like all these plots just interweaving together, sometimes not really connected, all leading towards nothing.
Yeah. Well, season 3 of Mandalorian, there's a lot of places that show could go, that it could go, and I think Boba's got to be part of that. I think Cobb Vanth probably has got to be part of that. And a lot of those characters that we saw in season 2 Bo-Katan, Koska Reeves, Axe Woves, all those characters. I feel like we're going to be seeing more from them, and I feel like I feel like season 3 is going to be big. I had sort of thought season 3 might scale down a little bit, but they did those kind of scaled down episodes in the Book of Boba Fett, and so now you can maybe keep that smaller scale for episode 1 and 2, but 4 through 8, 3 through 8. I feel like things are gonna get big, and things are gonna be very exciting, and they'll set the stage in a very interesting way for Ahsoka and beyond, I'm sure.
Book of Boba was at the very least an acknowledgement from the writers, or just Favreau, or just Disney in general, of like they know the power of Mando, they know the power of Din Djarin and Grogu, and they know it'll get people to subscribe to Disney Plus if nothing else, and get people to watch. And so they're not gonna they will spare no expense with this new season, I imagine.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting point, Ben, that like this will be the first Mandalorian season that has been written since the show began. Because remember, they started filming season 2. It was already written and ready to go before season 1 aired. They were on set the day of the red carpet premiere. They went from the set to the set of season 2 to the red carpet premiere for season 1. This show was, conceived and written and produced in a bubble for so long, and that's I'm not even referring to a COVID bubble. I'm just talking about their own little bubble, and this is the first season that'll have been written since any of that. And there's been there'll have been a long 2-year gap in between the seasons, so I suspect there'll have been a lot of stuff that was rewritten and worked on and evolved in that time. And you have to wonder, if the pressure is really going to be on for this season. Yeah, and you have to wonder how much was changed. And it goes back to something you brought up a fair few times, Ben, when we were talking about Book of Boba Fett with the Grogu situation, and the choice to have him go with Luke at the end of season 2 of Mando, and then leave Luke halfway through season, or 2/3 of the way through season 1 of Book of Boba. I wonder, will we see more things? Will that be given more context, or will it feel more like all right, we can't have the main character of the show not be in the show kind of situation? This season's going to be really interesting, both from just the story's point of they have all these characters they can play with, but also the real world pressure that this season will be under that the other two didn't have. They were still under pressure, but they didn't quite have what this season is looking
It'll
at.
just be 8 episodes of Grogu eating frogs the whole time.
Just
people
Grogu,
love it.
Grogu and ice spiders and things like that for 8 episodes.
Little Grogu in the big world.
Oh man. All right, let's talk about another Star Wars series, one that we haven't heard much about for a while. This is something that was announced. It was announced way back at Disney the Disney Investors Day in 2020, and it's been all quiet on the Lando front ever since then. Well, Donald Glover, who played Lando in Solo: A Star Wars Story, he's back out there promoting the new season of Atlanta, which is airing now on FX and Hulu. And he went on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and Jimmy tried to get some intel out of Donald about what's going on with that show, and here's how that went.
We're working on a new Lando project for Disney Plus right now.
Am I?
No.
Just telling all my business.
I made that up to see what was going on, but it's called fishing. You never heard of it?
You're making another alien. Is that true? No, yeah. I'm. I have a lot of things. I like to blossom and then go away.
I like to blossom too. I love it.
I know. I really
give people allergies and then disappear.
And right now is definitely the start of another one of those. I have a ton of stuff I've been working on, but I just wanted to feel. I just wanted it all to come out at the same time. So I feel like that's what's important.
He's in, right? He's in.
Oh, heck yeah.
He's in.
Oh, heck yeah.
Watching that reminded me of the fact that they never actually confirmed he was involved. Did they?
No, they didn't. The Lando show, let's be honest, of all the things they announced, aside from perhaps Rangers of the New Republic, it felt like it was the least likely to happen. Because they didn't announce any cast, they didn't announce a release window, and they the way they talked about it was just so vague. It just sort of felt like they were just sort of going in there and try and just saying, all right, let's just throw everything out there and hopefully most of these things will stick.
It's like Kathleen Kennedy was like, this is gonna be the rematch of the century for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Lando series. We have a logo. Look at this pretty logo. That's it. That's all you get.
Yeah. Man. Well, and the dude who's supposed to be, creating it and writing it, Justin Simeon, he's got he's working on another movie right now. He's got a movie that comes out next year which is Haunted Mansion. That I guess is actually this is like Pirates of the Caribbean. They're adapting a Disneyland
this is a remake
ride
of the classic Eddie Murphy film Haunted Mansion.
So he's working on that, and presumably he's going to be kind of tied up for a little while yet, and not really able to throw himself into Lando. So it would shock me if Lando started filming before 2024, and there is so much time between now and then for things to go wrong. That said, it seems to me like if they asked, and they probably have already, Donald he'd probably be into it, even if he's not really ready to say anything about it just yet, because he knows that even in this current situation, everywhere he goes, people are going to want to ask him about Star Wars, and I don't think he wants to feed into that at the moment. I think he wants to keep the focus on Atlanta, where it belongs, because that is actually coming out now. But nice to get a little update.
I mean,
nice to get a little something.
Like if this show happens, big if. I really hate to say that because I want this to happen so badly, but this was. Rise of Skywalker is still fresh, and he was even fresher back when this was first announced. And, we just come off of Billy D. Williams reprising the character. And I think, at least in my mind, it was like, okay, Billy D. He's still got it. He's still got that Lando, thing going. And, I would love to see him come back, but I don't think he can carry a series. I don't see Billy D. Doing that.
Oh, I disagree with that.
Well, I see him being a co-lead. I see him, my dream for this series is to, Lando sitting around, telling stories, and it flashes back, or, hits him, and maybe he gets, mixed up in the thing that he has his own adventures in the quote unquote modern day, but it's flashing back to Donald Glover having adventures. Like, that's the best. That's what I wanted for Solo. It didn't happen for Harrison and Alden, but they could do it here, guys. You can do it. You can still do it.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing Billy D at a con in the lead up to in the lead up to Rise of Skywalker. I think I don't think he wants to be the lead in a show right now. I think he'd like to. I bet you could get him to come in and do something similar to what he did for Rise of Skywalker. Have a couple of scenes here and there, dispense some wisdom, that sort of thing. But that logo that we were showing a second ago, the Lando logo, that's a Solo inspired image.
Yeah.
And when Kathleen Kennedy announced the show, the image was the Solo Falcon. They were showing that. I think this is Donald Glover's show, unless he decides at the last minute he doesn't want to. It doesn't want to do it. So I think, it'd be nice. I hope they can find a way to incorporate Billy D. I like your idea, Ben. But this is going to be a Donald Glover vehicle at the end of the day.
Yeah,
as it should be. So hopefully we'll hear more about Lando in the next little while, the Lando series. But For the time being, it seems like it'll remain quiet. Fortunately, there's Kenobi, Andor, Mando, Ahsoka, Acolyte, Bad Batch, and all these other things. Yeah, all these Rogue Squadron, all these great other things to focus on. All right. So we talked a lot about Celebration off the top as it relates to Obi-Wan Kenobi and the premiere and possible ramifications of the change in the release date. But we got a more classic Celebration update this week as well. We've got some new guests that have been announced. There's some familiar faces in here and some first timers coming to Celebration as well. So. Coming to Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2022, we've got Daniel Logan, Giancarlo Esposito, Jonas Suatamo, Omid Abtahi, Carrie Jones, Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Daniel Jose Older, Kevin Scott, Charles Sewell, Margot Apostolos, Jet Lucas, son of George, Orly Shoshan, I never know how to pronounce that name, Kevin Thompson, and Tim Rose. It's a trap. So I've got there's some authors in there. There's some actors who are doing things that are current, like Giancarlo and Omid and Carrie and Jonas as well. And we got some classics, some favorites like Tim Rose and Daniel Logan as well. Although I don't know, I feel like Daniel Logan's coming back in something, and it's gonna be more than a reflected image in Book of Boba Fett. He's going to be back for something else. Who knows what?
That's cool.
I think the meeting of Omega and her brother are long overdue and is just too good an option, too good an opportunity to miss for Bad Batch season 2.
I will be so disappointed if that doesn't happen. Like that's the whole point of the show. That's what they're leading up to. What would they be leading up to if it weren't that? All the Alpha and Omega stuff. Oh my gosh.
Daniel Logan's been waiting around long enough. I think he's been a great ambassador for the character. Really embraced it, and obviously been to a ton of celebrations, probably every one of them. And he's been there from the beginning. I'd love for them to bring it back. He is Boba Fett, for crying out loud. Like, he's as much Boba Fett as Tim Morrison. So let him do something. Cool.
Absolutely.
And
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I know we didn't actually say that. I believe Margot Apostolos and Kevin Thompson are both Ewok actors, and Orly Shoshan is I forgot. She's the original Shaak Ti. There you go.
Yeah. Good stuff. Jet Lucas, of course, he was the little Jedi running around in episodes 2 and 3. And he works on the production on the Star Wars shows now.
Also, the inspiration for the name of the best Star Wars character ever.
Yes,
Mr. Dexter Jetster.
Dexter Jetster. Also, I'll just highlight that the authors that have been announced as attending: Claudia Gray, Justina Ireland, Daniel Jose Older, Kevin Scott, and Charles Sewell. Those are, of course, the High Republic authors. So all of us High Republic fans out there, I think that's a good omen for what we can expect at Celebration. Awesome. Some news about
and also,
Phase 2.
Very cool to see Carrie Jones. Feel like he hasn't got enough recognition as Black Chrysanthemum. So good. It's good to see him. And the one person I think that's never been to Celebration before, which is cool.
Yeah, I don't think Giancarlo Esposito or Omid Abtahi have been.
Oh, really?
Because they
I'm still living. I still can't wrap my mind around the fact that we haven't had a Celebration since before Mando.
Yeah.
It just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
But yes. Gosh.
I want a panel that's Jonas Suatamo and Carrie Jones. I want the meeting of the Wookiees.
Yes.
I want them in there.
And whoever played Tarful needs to be there as well.
Get them in there, and it should be moderated by Peter Mayhew's wife.
Yes,
Angie Mayhew out there to moderate the Wookiee.
Three Wookiee experts. There you go.
That'd be amazing.
The Wookiee Roars panel.
Yes.
Make it happen. Make it happen. Celebration. Come on.
Let's go.
Come on. Ben, how many days away from Star Wars Celebration are we?
Okay, I'm gonna run through all of them real quick since you ask. We are 5 days away from Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. We are 57 days away from Obi-Wan Kenobi, the first and second episode now. 56 days away from Star Wars Celebration Anaheim, and if it happens, Star Wars Rogue Squadron 631 days.
I hate that you have to put the if it happens.
I hate it too, but I have to put that disclaimer out there now.
All right, 56 days away from Celebration, and as you mentioned, 5 days away from Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. There's lots out there now about this game. I think everybody's feeling pretty excited about. There's a new trailer out that focuses in on the bad guys and has a lot of fun with shirtless Kylo Ren, lifting weights and doing all sorts of shirtless things. The Lego more than anybody else has taken shirtless Kylo Ren and run with it, because they have a lot of fun with it in this Darkness is Rising trailer for this game. They also had a lot of fun with it in the Christmas special a couple years ago. They've really gone all in on that. So 5 days away from Lego Star Wars. Ben, have you bought your Switch yet?
No. All right. I just bought plane tickets to Celebration. Come on, give me a break here. I have priorities.
Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing. You gotta pick and choose sometimes. All right. What else we got? Oh, some sad but hopeful and potentially good news as well. Well, here we're sending good vibes through the Force to Matt Lanter, who apparently his wife has been posting on Instagram that he has had some health troubles lately, and things were kind of scary for a couple of minutes there, but he for a little while there, but he had to have some emergency surgery, but thankfully he's back home, is recovering, he's with his wife and their daughter, so everything's looking up, looking good for Matt, thankfully, but sending good vibes his way, because scary situation, not one that anybody wants to find themselves or their loved ones or their friends or even their favorite voice actors in. So you can see the posts on his Instagram at Matt Lanter. You can see what's going on, see the updates from his wife, and send some good vibes, send some positive feelings his way.
Get better, Matt, because I want him to have a cameo in Obi-Wan Kenobi, maybe season 2.
Oh, you know, he needs to have a cameo in Ahsoka.
Yes.
That's even better.
Him and Ashley better find their way onto screen in that show.
Yeah.
They better. Because, look, those two laid all the groundwork. They did all of the work. They did all of the backstory for that show. Is their versions.
That show does not work and does not exist without those two people.
Yeah, and it's it's sort of weird that the next chapter in Ahsoka and Anakin's story is going to be told without them. Obviously they've gone the direction they're going in, and they've chosen to continue the story in live action. And so obviously you get the people who play those characters in live action. You bring back Hayden and all that stuff, and it makes sense. But they on Clone Wars, on Rebels, they did a lot. They did a lot of great work, and that they made that relationship what it is, along with Dave and George and all the writers and animators. All right, so that's about it for the news. But we've still got a little bit of time here. We don't have to leave just yet. So we'll throw it open. Anybody that's in our live chat here, if you have any questions, have anything you think we should be talking about, throw it out there, and we'll answer some questions. Just post away in the chat, and we'll just vamp until we get there. So for all vamping matters, we turn things over to Ben Hart. Ben, vamp away. Tell us something.
This is okay. There's something I wanted to rant about. And it's the fact that I am blown away by, I can't remember what the official count on how many playable characters are in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, but they've been posting on the Twitter account, or I think on Facebook too, just all of the different icons for the things. Like, people have been requesting them, and they've been giving them to people of all the characters that are going to be in this game, and it's insane. It's insane. Like Roger from Freemaker Adventures is in there. You have Captain Phasma with the open helmet. There's of course all the Kenobis. There's all different versions. Lobots. All the Ewoks. Luke with Yoda on his back. That's a playable character. Din Djarin and Baby Yoda are both characters.
As they should be.
I think maybe Baby Yoda follows him around. Maybe I'm not sure how that goes.
So is Baby Yoda his own character, or is he a little companion that?
Well, see, one of the announcements said that he wasn't. Said that he was a non-playable character, but I don't know now. But then there's Sai Snoodles, there's Ponda Baba, there's that weird teeth-looking guy from Rise of Skywalker, and also
who?
If you go, I don't know who he is. He's a bunch of, maybe he's from Rogue One. I can't remember. They don't identify him. He's he's got a lot of teeth. He's I don't know. And there's also a deep cut from the original game. They got Rebel Friend back. Rebel Friend is coming back, guys. He's in it. He's in the game. Does anybody know who Rebel Friend's in?
We got Boba Joe.
Yeah.
Let's go. I don't even know who Bulio is. Do either of you know who Bulio?
Bulio is the dude who gives them at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker. Who gives them the information about
war.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, without the head. Yeah.
Yeah. As Mark Hamill's is his extra cameo in Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
All the captains. War. 1, 2, 3. There's 8 different captains.
Captain Kennedy?
Yeah. Captain Kennedy.
Oh my god. I want to play as Captain Kennedy.
Oh my goodness.
Chief Chirpa. Let's go.
There's a whole bunch of clone troopers there.
BB-9A by BB-9E, aka BB-8.
2 different versions of DJ.
DJ in disguise.
Oh my god,
I like it. It's amazing.
When is he ever in disguise? Oh, I guess in the Imperial.
It's an Imperial.
Yeah.
The First Order disguise.
I like
There's
it.
our favorite.
Dax.
There he is.
Yeah.
There we go.
Only one Darth Vader though, and one Darth Maul. Unlike Hasbro.
They've got to have battle damage Vader.
Look at Finn. There's 4 fins.
4 fins. All
right, Eternal Palpatine.
All right, we got a super chat here from George Rogers. George says, "How do you think the first 2 episodes of Kenobi dropping at once will affect reception and interpretation of the series? Could have helped Book of Boba." I think it'll probably be good for the reception of the series because people are impatient and they don't want to wait to see things play out. Even though waiting to see things play out generally makes them better, in my opinion. And it makes the experience better, in my opinion. But, there's no denying that, sometimes when you just get the first episode, people feel a little bit like, oh, that's it. Especially when you've been anticipating something for so long, to then get to the point where we're moving around the screen.
I was trying to get more Ben's body in the shot, but it didn't work well.
No. But I've completely lost what I was saying. I think it will help because that's right, because you spend so much time waiting for the series to come out, and you kind of go into it the same way you go into a film, where you're expecting to get the whole story all at once, and then you get 1/6 of it. It's easy to come away feeling a little disappointed. Having 2 episodes, getting 1/3 of it all at once probably helps the reaction and the reception.
And I've got to think that, they're doing this on purpose. It's not like an arbitrary decision, just like, oh, how many episodes should we premiere the show with? Let's do 2. Random number. I have a feeling that they watched it and were like, okay, yeah, you really need the first 2 episodes to really get a feel for what this series is. And so we need these two to be together, and perhaps they're learning from some missteps in the past. I don't know if they've really done it so much with premieres. They've usually done a good job with premieres, making sure the first episode is as long as it needs to be to set up the show. But there have been some arcs in various shows where it has felt a little bit strange that they left things off where they did that week, and that if we had gotten the second or third episode and watched them all together, things would have made a little bit more sense. And so I think that it's great that they're making the decision to do that, because I've got to think that it's going to make the best viewing experience, because there might be something in the second episode that is really key that we kind of need to see to kind of understand what's going on in the show.
I can, just speaking personally on Book of Boba Fett, like I did not enjoy the first episode very much of Book of Boba Fett, and I really liked the second episode. So my experience with that show would have been completely different if I'd seen 2 episodes back to back. I love the whole week to week thing. If I had my choice, I would still prefer to see, 1 episode and then the next episode the next week. But I think we've talked about this off and on about like some shows don't they don't necessarily work week to week. They are more, they work better as a team. And when you go back and watch it, they're like, okay, this flows a lot better. So, and Obi-Wan Kenobi may be a type of show where it's more, it's not an anthology story. I don't think it's going to be. It's going to be a very, thick plot, and each episode is going to lead to the next one. And, who knows? The first episode may be kind of a slow one. And maybe, and I mean, just statistically speaking, the more episodes you put out, the more chance there is that more people like the premiere than, say, just putting out 1 episode.
Yeah. Well, along those lines, how many episodes into the series do you think Obi-Wan leaves Tatooine? Is it at the end of episode 1, episode 2?
That's a great question.
Here's the thing. If it weren't for Book of Boba Fett, I would have said like the end of the first episode or beginning of the second episode. But then after watching the Book of Boba Fett and how long that thing stayed on Tatooine, I'm like, okay, they're not really afraid to show Tatooine and have a kind of a whole story play out there. So I think it's possible that we might be getting a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I think maybe episode. The reason they're doing episode 1 and 2 together is that's the Tatooine story. And at the end of episode 2, he leaves Tatooine, and that's so you get the kind of the whole little mini Tatooine arc there, because you look at the trailer, there's a fair bit of stuff that goes on Tatooine. We've got, it's not just Obi-Wan going to work and then watching Luke from far away. There's Inquisitors and other things happening, and somebody gets hanged, it looks like, on Tatooine. Like there's a lot that's got to go on there. Alternatively, maybe they show episodes 1 and 2 back to back, because they know that some people got a little tired of Tatooine with Book of Boba, and so episode 1 is all Tatooine, but maybe at the end of episode 1 he leaves, and episode 2 is all on that kind of Vegas, Reno like planet that we see in the trailer.
Ty brings up the Sherlock style of doing things, which is those 3 90-minute episodes. He says tightens up the story, done in 3 weeks to a month, bam, change the release format. Yeah, I really love Sherlock's pacing. Like, I think it's fantastic. And it's very much like a mini-series style, which this Obi-Wan show seems kind of the closest to that as far as how it's been marketed that we've seen with Star Wars.
Yeah. Honestly, like that sort of Sherlock 3 90-minute episodes, that format, that feels like something that would be really appropriate for Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett. Like, think about that. Think about season 1 of Mandalorian, episodes 1, 2, and 3. What if you did all of those as a little mini movie, as a Sherlock episode, essentially?
Yeah.
That would have worked. That would have worked. The last 2 episodes kind of fit in that as well, and some of the stuff in the middle. I think that would have really worked. Obi-Wan to me feels like it's going to be one long story, and so it either needs to be broken up into 6 parts or be shown all at once. But I like the idea of doing a Sherlock style thing coming up somewhere down the line. Got another super chat here from an old pal, Rusty Zion. Shout out to the KanjiCast.
Yeah.
Everybody who remembers back in the day. Rusty says, hey guys, good to see you all still at it. And on the YouTubes, I thought I'd pop in and say, what's up? Rusty, it's good to hear from you, pal. It's good to hear from you, pal. People, the old school SWU fans going back to the 2015, 16, 17 era will remember Rusty from the KanjiCast. And we had some good times. We had some good times with Rusty at celebrations past, Celebration London, Celebration Orlando. And
hopefully more good times in the near future, maybe.
I hope so. Man, Rusty, it was at Rusty's invitation that I fell asleep at the breakfast table with a Star Wars author one time.
Oh, man.
Classic.
Oh, the good old days. Rusty, great to hear from you, pal. We'll be in touch. And we got, sticking with the KanjiCast theme, Gaz and Fluffy, Gary, also a classic from the KanjiCast days. Michael Wilson remembers KanjiCast. Heck yes, got me through a lot of early mornings at the grocery store, taking us a trip down memory lane. I love it. Gary had a question as well, sticking with the KanjiCast theme. If I can get back to it in the chat. Expectations for Obi-Wan. How are we feeling? We're 2 months out.
So I'm trying to find them. They're up there somewhere. For those who are not watching, I'm looking up.
And pointing too.
They're up there. Way up there.
In the stratosphere.
Yeah, no, it's actually kind of concerning how this kind of sounds like it's going to be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Remember how that's gone a few times in the past.
Yeah, we never learn. Star Wars fans never learn. Never, ever learn.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like since 2015, the last almost decade, really, we're 3 years removed from. Well, I mean, we're in a decade. We're almost into a decade of just Disney Star Wars in general, because that started October 30th, 2012. So this year we'll be celebrating 10 years of Disney Star Wars. So it really feels like in this last decade we broke Dominic.
I'm just gonna sit here for a few minutes and just ponder the passage of time.
20 years of Attack of the Clones. 30 years of like one of the last Heir to the Empire books, I think. Yep.
That's the especially painful one for those of us of this generation.
Next year, 40 years to the end of the original trilogy. 45 for New Hope.
Yeah.
Star Wars, George Lucas was sitting down to start write Star Wars about 50 years ago. 50.
50, yeah.
Woo. 50 years ago, he had already made THX, I think. So anyway, that was a long tangent. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it's felt like the last 10 years has been very much a love letter to the kids who grew up in the 80s with Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that they had 10 years to have a lot of stuff come out that is very tied to the original trilogy. I really feel like this is the first thing, at least in live action. I think, Clone Wars Season 7, Bad Batch, amazing stuff, and Rebels to an extent as well, a little tied to the prequel stuff. But in live action, this is really the first thing that feels more of a prequel thing than an original trilogy thing. And I think it will bridge the gap very well, but it does feel like a little bit more of the prequel side, and having the lead actor be Ewan from the originals and having Hayden come back as well. And
Joel Edgerton.
Yeah, Joel Edgerton, Bonnie Peace, other ones are rumored. Like it's the first thing that really feels like, okay, this is now for the prequel generation. This is for us. This is for the kids of the 2000s. And so that's why my expectations for it are, as high as the CN Tower, because like, and this is like a first. This is just like The Force Awakens all over again. Like, this is the first thing that I feel like is coming out of its kind. And so I could not be more excited and anticipate it more.
Yeah. Ben?
Yeah, it kind of takes me back because, we have been anticipating this for so long, and it hasn't just been like, hey, they're making this. It's been like for years and years and years. It's, hey, us Star Wars fans say this should happen. And, it spent a long time in doing that and making memes, all this kind of stuff. Then it actually was confirmed. And that was a long time ago from now. So now we've had all these things. And, I think we'll see. We'll see how my expectations play out. I think I've learned a few good, hard lessons about expectations. I think personally, I can kind of have expectations and think, okay, this is gonna be so good, but also pull myself out and go like, you're an idiots that don't think those things. Just go in with an open mind and enjoy it. And I come down with very specific expectations. I am almost expecting Clone Wars flashbacks. I want to see Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka and Padme. I want to see those things. I want Commander Cody in there. I want Commander Cody showing up in the present day, and he's hunting down Kenobi and all this kind of stuff. I want Force Ghost Qui-Gon.
Yes.
I want all this kind of stuff. But I'm still like, I am conditioning myself to go like, okay, I need to be okay that if that stuff does not happen.
It's okay to not be okay.
I need to tell myself Qui-Gon's not happening. Qui-Gon, just put it out of your mind. It's not happening, and be surprised if it does, because if I get to that last episode and I don't hear Liam Neeson, I'm going to be upset. It's just dangerous. And I've learned this lesson over and over and over again. So, I think I'm pretty reasonable. I think, as high as my expectations are, and high as, I'm feeling about this show, I think I'm in the right headspace for it. But, haven't seen a second trailer yet. Haven't even seen the first or second episode. I'm sure things are going to change drastically as we get to the series. And yeah, it's going to be wild.
Jurassically.
Yeah. For me, for the longest time, I would always do this thing where I would convince myself that all of the things that I wanted to happen wouldn't happen. And I would be going into this show, for instance, saying, no, Qui-Gon's not going to appear. No, there's not going to be Clone Wars flashbacks. No, there's I would basically brace myself and prepare myself for things to not go the way that I'm hoping, that I'm expecting, that sort of thing, and try and be open-minded about all that. But I think Mandalorian Season 2 broke me. Because everything happened.
Mm-hmm.
We had Cobb Vanth, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Luke Skywalker showed up in that thing, so at this point, I don't know how to deal with expectations anymore, and so I try and just go in with the attitude of, I want a good story. Show me a good story. And if you show me a good story, I will be happy. But there's still that voice in the back of my head going, Liam Neeson needs to show up. They need to be Qui-Gon. We should have Clone Wars flashbacks. I want to see Anakin and Obi-Wan and young Ahsoka in live action. Like all of those things are just are sort of there. And because they went all in on it in the past, they set the standard that they're going to go all in on it again in the future. And, sometimes when I take a step back, I wonder, is that a good thing? Is that the best thing for the franchise? But at the same time, it sure is a hell of a lot of fun when it happens.
I'm scared to talk about what I think this show could be for the same reasons that you just said, because there's so many options here. And once they made a few announcements about things, it became clear that this isn't a little self-contained story about one person. like, some of the other stuff that we've gotten. I mean, Book of Boba Fett, while it did have some good cameos towards the end and connect in with other stuff, very much, especially towards the beginning of the show, was like a character-based story that very much was just following Boba Fett. And so I feel like they pulled a lot of punches with that one. And I think one of the reasons perhaps why they did is because they were saving a lot of those fireworks for this series and a lot of the budget for pay for some big people to come back. And so, yeah, I mean, I think once you open those floodgates and you decide like, yeah, screw canon, we're going to have these characters face off again when you never thought they, that happened. Like once that happened, I'm like, okay, they're throwing it out right here. Like, this isn't going to be like a let's dance around canon type show. They're just going to give us great Star Wars, and they're going to give us a great experience. And that means things are open for everything, all of these things that we're talking about. And so I kind of do high key expect this show to be that.
I hope so. I hope so. We'll see. We'll see. May 27th. It's 56 days away.
This is the event. This is Disney's moment. Like, we don't know when we're ever going to get a Star Wars film again. This is their moment to like be like, all right, this is the best we can do.
You're not helping.
Supposed to put positive things out into the universe. So there's going to be more Star Wars movies.
No. I'm saying this is what I'm doing. I'm doing a thing called leverage. I'm doing a thing called how does Jack Sparrow say it? Parlay. I'm parlaying, where I'm saying like, Disney, if you're gonna be kind of a little bit, coy and sus about Rogue Squadron, then maybe you could make up for that by giving us a movie every week.
But guys, don't forget, Obi-Wan Kenobi could be the last time we ever see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
Treat it like that. Treat it like that. It's the Sergey Diem thing, where it's like
Sergey Diem?
Sergey Diem.
Carpe Diem?
You're right, Carpe Diem.
I'm like, is that a Russian dude? Isn't that an oligarch, Sergey Diem? Has he been sanctioned yet?
Sorry, that was an inside joke from my Latin class that I realized no one knows about. Surgit. Seek Surgit. Deal. Anyway, so if anyone speaks that language, that is dead. It's the Carpe Diem thing, where it's like live every day to the fullest, like it's your last day. Every episode of Star Wars should be made like it's the last thing that will ever come out. That's what should be happening. Put everything into it. Don't leave it. Don't pull any punches. Don't leave anything on the table. All of the metaphors and idioms and similes.
Leave it all out on the field.
Leave it all out on the field.
Leave it all out on the field.
Throw the gauntlet down. Get in the ring.
George Rogers is empathizing with you, Chris, saying, Chris, that was so relatable. I make unrelated inside jokes all the time.
That was funny, Yo Collab.
All right, Michael Wilson coming in with a question here. Which upcoming series can we get some Mr. Bones involved in? Did he die? I forgot. Who cares? It's Star Wars and he's a droid, for Pete's sake. Life action, Mr. Bones.
Okay. Side note. I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Mr. Bones is a playable character in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
Him and Roger? You could go on an adventure with Roger and Mr. Bones?
Apparently. Don't quote me on that, but I may have misread.
I still got the list of characters up, so I don't see him on the list of characters unless it's under Bones.
Maybe Bones, Mister.
Yeah, going to the B's just to make sure. Yeah, so maybe it's like something that's hidden.
It's a
that's
secret,
not
hidden. Yeah, I think think should Rangers of the New Republic ever get off the ground, that Mr. Bones should be a main character on that show. I think Snap should let him go off and join the Rangers and go on adventures with Cobb Vanth and Carson Teva and some other fun characters that we're not even thinking of yet. That's my pitch.
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, I got confirmation here. BrickFanatics.com. In a recent interview with Games Radar, TT Games senior producer James Burgeon revealed why they've included some unusual character choices. Quote, "It's a huge roster, perhaps our biggest yet," he says. "Of course, fan favorites such as the Wampa, Babu Frick, and Darth Maul, and then blah, 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 also, characters for superfans, Mr. Bones, Temmin Welksley's B1 Battle Droid makes an appearance. This is one of my favorites.
I like
it. This is not, these lists that we're looking at can't be exhaustive because I'm just noticing that there's Unkar's Brute and Unkar's Thug, but no Unkar Plot in the list. So unless it's like it's a mission to put him back together.
As it should.
Sorry for that distraction. I just had to say that.
As it should be, yeah.
We're just going to be, next week, we're just going to be straight up playing the game. There's going to be no podcast. We're just going to be all over playing our game.
Yeah, I think so. And by the way, Mr. Bones, for anybody that doesn't know, is a character from the Aftermath trilogy. He belonged to a young Snap Wexley, and he is a B1 battle droid.
This whole time you weren't talking about the Star Trek character?
No, was not.
I'm so confused.
For God's sakes, Jim, I'm a battle droid, not a doctor.
Beam me up.
All right, Joel coming in with a comment here. Do you guys ever stop and think about the fact that we're going to have a whole generation of Star Wars fans who will not know that Episode 6 was the ending of the saga?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think they'll know in the same way that we know that A New Hope might have been, a one and done movie, and they'll talk about Return of the Jedi the same way we talk about A New Hope, as it's like this weird thing that feels a little bit disconnected from everything else that goes on, because at the time it was meant to be a neat wrapping up of the story, in the same way that at the time A New Hope was written as a completely different movie where Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker were separate people.
Go ahead.
I
was gonna say, what's hidden? Star Wars fandom is like a Russian doll. There's things inside things. And the greatest thing about Star Wars fandom that's probably all encompassing is everybody loves Grogu, everybody loves the Mandalorian. That's something that seems to have very wide appeal. And then inside that, I think there's very wide appeal for at least the 3 to 6 original films. Most people are who are involved in talking about Star Wars right now or have positive feelings towards at least the 3 original films, if not the 6 in the original saga. But inside that, as you go deeper into the onion of Star Wars fandom, you peeling back the layers, you get.
You're gonna make Shrek Australian too.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, ogres are like onions. Got layers.
You want some onion juice? Yeah, but if you keep going in there, you will realize that there is a subset of Star Wars fandom that is quite large, that are people that are just really into the sequel trilogy, and they're the Kylo and Rey stands, and they're the Reylos. And if you try to see how many Twitter accounts have a blue butterfly on them, there are thousands of them, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. It's big. It's just really overshadowed by the fact that The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda is so big. It's literally the biggest thing, and the only thing that comes close to competing is Marvel. But it's the biggest cultural thing. So, of course, anything's going to be a shadow to that. But if it weren't for the fact that you have this huge thing that literally everybody seems to be into or knows about, at least, there is a very sizable fandom as well that's very focused on films 7 through 9 and very much a younger Gen Z thing. And that's always going to be there. And
they're
important.
Yeah, they're filling the same place in fandom that prequel fans did for a long time during the kind of the Clone Wars to Rebels era. Prequel fans were kind of that. The assumption was Star Wars, the original trilogy, is just so big it overshadows, and the fans of that overshadow everything else. And the prequel fans were just kind of there under the surface having fun until around 2015, 2016. They burst onto the scenes with all their memes and all that stuff. And now we're getting Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's hopefully just the beginning of this prequel renaissance. And I think if we fast forward 5-10 years, we're going to be seeing a sequel trilogy renaissance, and it's going to be fueled by those fans, as there should be. Joel coming in with the super chat. Do you know the Russian doll viewing order for Star Wars? It's 7-8-4-5-1-2-3-6-9. The idea is to view the saga through the eyes of the sequel trilogy characters.
I love this. That's because I'm a big proponent myself of the flashback order, which was the thing before the sequel trilogy, where you would watch 4 and 5, be introduced to Star Wars like everyone was introduced to Star Wars, because those movies were very much made to introduce people to Star Wars, but then and still get that big reveal if for some reason you don't know about what happens at the end of episode 5, not have that spoiled by the prequels, but then go back and flash back to, okay, how did we get here? And then 1, 2, 3, and then conclude it with 6. Like, that's a brilliant order. So this is, I think, the reason why it's Russian doll is it's a flashback within a flashback, where you have that same order imposed around it, where you do 7 and 8. You're introduced to the characters, and you're introduced to Star Wars through those sequel characters in the way that Star Wars was reintroduced to another generation. But then you flash back and add the flashback inside the flashback, and then finally end up with 9 to conclude the saga. I think that's really, really brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, I think my next rewatch of the saga is going in this order: 7, 8, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 9.
Yeah,
I think I'm going with that. I think that perhaps the most sort of like jarring change you're going to have here is go from episode 8 Luke to episode 4 Luke, from the crotchety old broken man who's given up to the idealistic farm boy staring off at the sunset.
But it will be interesting. I think, you watch episode 7, you have Han talking about, everything that happened, the Force, all this kind of stuff. And if you're a new person, you're like, what is the Force? What is all this stuff? What's Han Solo talking about? All this kind of stuff. And what was he, being a smuggler, all this kind of stuff. And then all this implied history. And then you get to episode 8, and then you have Luke talking about the Jedi and, their failures and their, all this stuff. And then going into episode 4, and there's even more of that, of like talking about what came before, and then you eventually get the payoff of seeing the whole backstory, and then getting to 6 and 9, which kind of pays all of it off.
Yeah, it's funny. Star Wars, wasn't made in order, and therefore it lends itself to this sort of these sort of bizarre ways of looking at the saga. You can't do this with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You can't be like, well, you start with Civil War, and then you go back to Winter Soldier, and then you jump ahead to Endgame. It's like, you can't do that. You got to do it. You got to go in order. But this lends itself to an interesting experience, having kind of the idealized version of the past presented in episode 7, and have it then be slowly ripped away through 7 and 8, and then actually going back and seeing what it was like, and seeing how these people lost their way. It's fascinating. I like this order a lot. I'm into it. Joel with another super chat. I'm slowly but surely seeing more discourse where Rebels and not Clone Wars is the gold standard for Star Wars animation. I think Rebels is their favorite. Again, this is just the Rebels fans aging into the larger. This is a word I hate, discourse. But they're aging into it, and that's what you're seeing. And Clone Wars went through that same phase, because when Clone Wars was on, we talk about this all the time with the way people deify Dave Filoni these days. But when Clone Wars was on, Dave was not popular in certain corners of the internet, and the Clone Wars was not popular in certain corners of the internet. And it was only when Clone Wars went off the air that it kind of was elevated to the status that people hold it at now. The larger culture holds it at now. The larger fandom holds it at now. And Rebels, I think, just had to exist in that shadow, that sort of deified. We didn't get the ending we wanted. Kind of much in the same way that a show like Firefly is held up because there was that feeling of untapped potential with it. And Rebels had to exist in that shadow for a long time, and now that we've gotten further and further away from both shows, we're seeing Rebels age into the conversation, and again, you go into those younger spaces, especially on on like TikTok or whatever. There's a lot of Rebels love there. People love that show a lot, and I get it. It's a great show. I personally prefer Clone Wars, but I still get a lot of enjoyment out of Rebels.
Rebels is an efficient show. It's very much a plot-based show and a character plot-based show. And so a lot of the focus is, how do we tell the story, just very much like you would write a play. And so for anybody that, likes that style, it's really great. The reason why I personally don't like Rebels as much as the Clone Wars and even the Tartakovsky Clone Wars is that, for me, the cinematic and, by extension, the television experience is more than just a play story, more than just kind of a script. Like, I want there to be audio and visual aspects to it that kind of stand on its own. And I feel like the music and the action and the shots of Clone Wars was very much a part of the story and took over more than it did in Star Wars Rebels. And so it doesn't really necessarily make Rebels worse quality than the Clone Wars. It's just a different style of visual audio storytelling, where Rebels was very much, this is a screenplay. We're going to have dialogue. We're going to go through this story. And then everything else was facilitating that. Then the music supported that. Then the visuals supported that. And some of those visuals were great. The art style, especially the stuff inspired by Ralph McQuarrie, was absolutely amazing. But I could always tell with the Clone Wars versus Rebels that the Clone Wars sometimes was, we don't need to have dialogue, or we don't need to have the characters moving around and doing something to tell the story. Sometimes we can tell the story by just the angle of how this is shot, by just panning around and watching something happen, by listening to music and having the tonality of Kevin Kiner's score be the emotion rather than the expressions or words of the characters. And so I just always have found Clone Wars a little bit deeper for me with my love of that type of storytelling medium. But that's just me, and it's just a personal preference thing. I don't necessarily think one is better than the other in the grand scheme of things. And obviously there are things that are better about Rebels. Rebels as a cohesive character arc story is better because it focuses on a smaller group of characters. They have more time to develop. So that part is essentially better because even though it had less seasons, there seems to be more development in some of the Rebels characters than there were in the Clone Wars characters, because there were so few episodes for each of them to have character development in, because they had to share it with so many other dozens of characters.
Yeah. And I think as someone, like, obviously I'm a Clone Wars guy, but it's because I'm biased, because I have nostalgia for that show, because I literally grew up with it, and Rebels came along in a different portion of my life. And, it didn't do for me maybe what I wanted to. I had going back to expectations. I had a lot of expectations for that show, and I had a lot of mixed feelings about it at the time. But I think I've grown to appreciate even more in retrospect. I think, and it helps that I've seen so much positivity online. I see way more positivity online now than I ever did while the show was airing.
Which
It was nothing.
The most classic Star Wars thing of all time. Yeah,
when
something's on, it's at its most hated. 5 years later, it's like, oh, it's like greatest thing of all
people
time.
people don't forget things they love. Sometimes they forget things that they hate, and they move on.
Right. And there's always something new to hate, whereas the people that love something, it sticks with them.
Yeah.
And you know, I just love the fact that like we've had this arduous, horrible process of like, this thing sucks when it first comes out, but then wait 10 years and we love it now. Now that process has been sped up. Now all the time I see stuff about, oh my gosh, I love The Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, I still don't know how to feel about that movie personally, but I love that people love it. I love that people are like speaking their minds and out there and like championing like a movie that they love. And that's great. And the same thing with Rebels. And I think Rebels, I totally get why people love it even more than Clone Wars, because obviously it probably came along. It was a show made for them. It came along at the right time of their lives. But also, as you were saying, Chris, like it could be considered a better show in the things, because Clone Wars was this show that was literally just made to fill a gap in between two movies, and we're just like, okay, we're just gonna throw this stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Clone Wars evolved into a show that was more plot heavy, and when we get to the end, it's like we're doing something with these characters. But Clone Wars was all over the place in the meantime, and some characters got huge payoffs, other characters didn't get much of anything. And you know, I still love the show, warts and all. I'm not gonna sit here and say Clone Wars is perfect, because it was beyond, you know, it was not perfect at all, but that's why I love it. Whereas Rebels was very clean cut, telling one story with these few characters. And if you want like a clear cut story that has great payoff with all its characters, Rebels is your show for sure.
Except the Asmorgan episodes. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I had to throw one in there. But, you know, it's a classic. You know, there's that meme that goes around every now and again of, you know, the life cycle of a Star Wars movie. On opening day, it's Anakin being burned up going, I hate you. 5 years later, it's Han outside the bunker in Return of the Jedi going, eh. And 10 years later, there's Luke pointing at the burning tree going, the sacred Jedi texts. And that's, you know, it's just how it goes. And, you know, people's opinions grow and evolve over time. And, you know, for me, the thing that epitomizes that is when I first saw Puffer Pig on Star Wars Rebels, it was the bane of my Star Wars existence. Fast forward literally 5 years later, for somehow I wound up with an Instagram account dedicated to puffer pigs, all because they started selling them at Disney at Galaxy's Edge, and it gave me a chance to reconsider. And now I think they're fun. Now I think they're pretty cool, and everybody should follow at Percy the Puffer Pig on Instagram. We'll bring it back. But I think that's it. Unless I missed a question in here or two, I feel like we got a lot. I feel like we got a lot out of
the only other thing. The only other thing I have to say is Mama the Hutt is also a playable character in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, and I freaking can't even believe it. I love it so much.
That's awesome. Our obligated hashtag give us detours as well, since we have time for it.
Yeah, where are those two stormtroopers in Lego Star Wars? You know, the Donald Faison and the other guy. Those
Tag
two.
and Bink. That's the original Tag and Bink.
Yeah, well, Tag and Bink should be in Lego Star Wars. They should be in there, as should the Detours troopers. But thank you everybody for throwing in the questions in the chat. Thank you for the super chats, everybody that contributed with those. And we'll do some more Q&A, live Q&As in a future show, because it's always lots of fun to do. But I think with that, we can begin to wrap things up for this week.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody so much for watching and for listening to the show. Of course, you can follow us at the SWU on social media. We'll be back with another show, same time, same place, next week. That time is 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. and that place is YouTube. And if you are subscribed to us over at Patreon, which you can do at patreon.com/theswu, you'll also get a link to our pre-shows where we talk about all our non-Star Wars topics, and also we get a lot of behind-the-scenes content for what goes on at our show. And you can check that out. We go live usually about a half hour before our main show every week on the same YouTube channel, but only for our subscribers over at patreon.com/theswu. Dominic, thank you so much for hosting tonight.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I loved getting into everything, the short news list and all of the questions in the chat. It was great fun, and I felt like we had a real old school SWU live chat tonight with everybody chiming in, with Rusty and Gary and Ty and Michael and Joel and everybody just getting in there. Michael Wilson said with the comments here, bro, I remember Dom's puffer pig rants. I was worried. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I listened back to those, I'd be like, what was wrong with me? But, that's just how, live and learn. You got to grow up sometime, or maybe not grow up, just stop ranting about fictional pigs except for the ones on Peppa Pig. We can rant about those for days. Anyways, I don't know what's going on anymore, but I'm looking forward to next week and talking about whatever other shenanigans we can come up with in the time between now and then. So see everybody in 7 days' time.
That's right. And you can follow Dominic on social media at DominicJ25. Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well.
Oh, it was a pleasure as always. And I feel like we would be remiss to end the show without wishing a very happy birthday to the man himself, Mr. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday,
Hey,
Ewan.
happy birthday, Ewan.
And a couple more months before you give us a gift, because we didn't get you anything. Sorry.
We just promoted your show for 2 hours. That's it.
Yeah. Just a little.
Awesome. And of course, you can follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E. And you can follow me at Seek3PO. Few other things we want to mention before we close the show out. Make sure you check out that cultureslate.com/store link for some great merch, including Cadshot, the Sheriff stuff that our good friend Jeff made for us. Amazing design. So check that out at cultureslate.com/store. We got lots of other great stuff over there as well. You can still get your emails into swunderworld@gmail.com for any feedback you want to give that's longer than whatever the comment limit is on YouTube. I don't know if there's a comment limit. I assume that there is.
I think there is, but I have no idea what it is. I think it's like
I asked Joel to paste one of his emails into the chat, but he didn't do it. So I guess it was not possible, because I know he would. So maybe next time. So if you have a longer format thing, swunderworld@gmail.com, and we'll periodically get to those. But we, of course, enjoy super chatting and just normal chatting with everyone as well. And as Dominic just said a few minutes ago, huge thanks to everybody who both chatted and also supported us financially. That means so much to us. Joel said he tried, so there you go. There is a limit. So that email address is still important for the long form stuff. Make sure you check out the other shows on our network: Star Wars Culture, Ion Cannon, and Chatter Squadron. All right, that is it. We will be back with another episode next week. But until then, for Ben and Dominic and all the other great contributors we have here at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
It's a wrap.